Okay. Hi, my name is Angelo from State Farm. Obviously, you guys are familiar with Jake from State Farm, but I'm Angelo. And during the COVID 19, normally I would come out and talk to your class in reference to teenage driving. But this year I'm doing it from my office, hopefully with the help of a screen, to help you understand the importance of safe driving as well as the coverages of an insurance policy and the costs. I'm going to start it off by talking about the types of policies that we have. As a teenage driver, there's four basic types of coverages in reference to an automobile insurance policy. The first part is collision coverage. That's the portion of the policy that covers your vehicle in case you get into an accident. The second is comprehensive. Comprehensive insurance help pays for the repair or replace your vehicle if it's damaged by something besides collision, which includes theft, fire, vandalism, or hitting another animal. And the most important part for you and your parents is probably the liability coverage. The liability coverage pays for another party's medical expense, vehicle repairs, and property damage if you are responsible for the accident. Car rental and travel expense, those are coverages that your parents' policies would have, which would allow them to rent a car while your car is in the shop and being repaired. First thing I want to do is talk about the collision coverage. For a teenage driver, if by chance you're in an automobile accident, whether you back into your parents' garage or whether you hit another vehicle, this is the portion of the policy that covers your parents' car or your car in that matter. Obviously, this portion of the policy normally comes with a deductible anywhere from $250 up to $1,000, and that's the portion of the policy that you will pay, and the insurance company will pay the balance of that. Comprehensive coverage, in your case, covers vandalism. So if by chance your car is left in a parking lot and someone keys it, scratches it, or breaks the windshield, this is the portion of the policy that will cover for that type of accident. The liability coverage, this is the part that's a little more complicated because liability covers for any accidents which you are found negligent or responsible for. Liability coverages can start with the minimum for the state, which is $20,000, $40,000, and go all the way up to $1 million of coverage. The most important thing about the liability coverage, and the example that I like to use, if you and your friends are out for a football game, assuming we're going to have football this becoming spring, and you accidentally get into an accident and they are injured, you would be considered negligent and responsible for the injuries of the passengers in your vehicle. That portion of the coverage, the liability coverage, is the portion of the policy that would cover them. The most important thing about liability coverage is, as a teenage driver, you are responsible for everything that goes on in that particular vehicle. And that is probably the most important thing about it that I can expect you to talk about. Other portions of the policy, went a little bit too fast there, so bear with me, is medical payments coverage, underinsured, uninsured, and then emergency road service. Uninsured motor coverage is a portion of the policy that covers you individually if by chance you get into an accident with someone who does not carry insurance. This portion of the policy would pay for any injury that's caused by someone who doesn't have liability insurance. And the key there is liability insurance. Just like we talked about liability insurance that protects you, this is the person that this portion actually protects you for any personal injury. Underinsured motor coverage, even though people have automobile insurance, sometimes the insurance isn't adequate to cover for the necessary medical expenses or any permanent disability. This portion of your automobile policy will cover for any liability that's in excess of the liability coverage that the other party has on their policies. Medical payments coverage helps pay for medical or funeral expense if an insured person is injured or killed in an accident. Those medical payments normally start at $1,000, can go up to a maximum of $25,000 on most policies. The emergency road service coverage, something that you need to be aware of. Emergency road service covers if by chance your car does not start, if it breaks down and needs to be towed. This portion of most policies will pay for the towing expense as well as any jump starts in reference to that particular coverage. These are the things that covers your policies. The most important, one of the important things is, and I normally would ask a question, do you think males or female are more safe drivers? And statistics indicate, based on insurance premiums, that the females drivers rates are much less, teenage drivers are much less than those of males. Statistics have shown that males tend to be a little bit more risk takers. If the vehicle goes 120 miles an hour, something about their personality wants to know whether or not they can get it to 120,000. Females tend to be a little bit less aggressive when it comes to that. That is reflected in the insurance premiums. The insurance premiums for an average male is about $1,200 every 6 months. Just to let you know, if you was paying on that on a monthly basis, that's about $200 a month. For a female, the average rate is about $800. The premiums will vary based on insurance, on the vehicles, and the type of coverages. These premiums that I just gave you an example of is if you were carrying full coverage with a standard deductible of $500, along with the uninsured, underinsurance, and medical payments, comprehensive and collision that we discussed a little bit earlier. Those are the basics of auto insurance. And the next thing that I want to talk about right before we close is a little bit about what a teen driver needs to be prepared for. So bear with me just a moment as I change this around just a little bit. Basically what I'm doing here is on statefarm.com, and you can go on statefarm.com and take a look at any of the information that I'm showing you. Okay. Teen Driving 101, a step for essential driving skills. This particular part here, if you were to go to statefarm.com or your parents were to go to statefarm.com, it kind of gives them a guideline that determines whether or not you are prepared to become a driver. It goes through some basic steps. Before letting your teenager get behind a wheel, go over these driving skills checklist. How do you know if your child is ready to drive? When it's time to teach your teenager to drive, parents should begin by taking the time to make sure their teen is knowledgeable and comfortable with the vehicle and its controls. Parents can also check with their insurance company, see if they're programmed to help teach a teen to drive. For example, State Farm has a program called Steer Clear, which basically gives discounts to teen drivers based on those rates that I had given you earlier. Rules of the road refresher. Driving rules and the way students are taught change periodically. So if your parents, who may have been licensed quite a few years ago, they need to review basically some of the new laws that have went in place in reference to driving. Obviously in the state of South Dakota, I think you're able to get a school permit at the age of 14, where in the state of Iowa, you have to be the age of 15 to actually have a school permit. The first thing your parents should do, or you, should take a tour of the vehicle. Take a look at the dashboard controls. Take a look at the steering wheel and set the adjustments. Most steering wheels as well as seats can be adjusted. Make sure that the vehicle is adjusted to fit what's comfortable for you. Mirror adjustment. Make sure you know where the turn signals are. Pretty important if you're going to be driving. Make sure you know the headlights. Some cars, the headlights come on automatically when they start. Some do not. The safety features such as airbags and seat belts, windshield wipers. Where are the emergency lights? That might be a great thing if by chance you run out of gas or break down or have a flat tire to know where the emergency lights are. Parking brake release, the starting and how to turn off your engine. Obviously older model cars have keys. Some of the new cars will push button. Gas brakes, especially if you have ABS, which is an automatic braking system, and then the warning indicator lights on the dashboard. Those are the things that are critical that you know where they are and what to look for prior to driving your vehicle. Get a feel for the vehicle. The first time your teen actually drives the car, start in the safest, easiest location possible. What I'm saying is don't go downtown and then all of a sudden say, I'm going to learn how to drive. Probably not a great place to start. Majority of people like to start in school parking lots. Basically, most parking lots are lined with entries and exits as well as parking stalls for you to drive and become more comfortable with the braking system as well as the accelerator. Look ahead and to both sides. Check your mirrors. Scan continuously for hazards. A hazard sometimes can be something that might have been killed and laying in the road. Sometimes there's road that needs to be repaired. All of these things can cause damage to the vehicle, which may require some of the other coverages that we discussed a little earlier. Teach your teen to keep a clear and safe space around other cars so that there's room to react in case someone has a hazard. Start in a low speed, low traffic areas. And then, of course, this particular website has what they call a beginner's skills checklist. This is something that you may to show your parents, or in some cases, take a look at yourself just to make sure that you are prepared when you start learning on a when you start learning how to drive. That pretty much takes care of my presentation to you guys. Wishing you guys the very best of luck this particular year, and tell Mr. Johnson I said hi. Thanks a lot. Have a great week and a great summer.